Okay, I just had to start doing this again. I'm doing this fireside chat style live video instead of doing like a video and recording it and then uploading it. Actually, like the gardeners just started like right when I pressed play, the gardeners had gone nuts right outside my window, and there was like the sound of the blower under the door. So I'm starting from the top here. Apologies for my hair. Let's see. I know it's like it was sort of doable a minute ago, but not so much anymore. Okay, so in the interest of the fact this has taken me too much time to put together, I'm just going to do this now. And this is an answer to a question about, or rather, a request saying, let's talk a bit more about negotiation and specifically the role of shame for wanting what you want and the importance of self-worth play in going into a negotiation. So I'm going to give myself like about 10 minutes and I'm going to see just what comes up and what hits. This is something that, you know, something I've a lot of material on. And one of the reasons that I presented this, and in the book, it's like page 129, I think, as a first point of practice, and even taught it in the Parinama for Beginners class, is that this is one of the best ways to practically break through the illusion that shame is real. And we can have all the philosophical talks in the world about like shame is this and shame is that, but there's nothing that actually helps us see that than having an experience that's kind of like in the fake it till you make it kind of zone that shows us that actually when I don't behave to the shame, when I don't actually like foster it and my reactions and how I behave is not fenced in by shame, that everything changes. And that actually, in terms of like the larger picture of what this practice is about, is everything. But we're not talking about this practice. We're talking about negotiation. So I might tell a couple stories. I'm going to end this video with a couple practices that are very practical for things to do to actually like anchor and be more effective, like right now in the next negotiation that you have. So let's see. First of all, shame, one of the things about shame is that shame has a actual function, which is that it arises when we have done something wrong, and it just creates a natural corrective response where it's such a bad feeling that we want it to go away, and the only way to make it go away is to do right by a person. Now, we happen to live in a culture where there's so much shame, where we're ashamed of eating or being embarrassed about stuff. There's so much shame. And it's like once you see it and once you start to notice like how it is used so effectively and so pervasively, then you realize like we can't actually, it's like so misused and overused that we can't actually even really access it if we're flooded with it all the time for its naturally occurring purpose, which is to like make right of our transgressions, so to speak. So I want to talk about shame and point it out, especially in the notion of like how it exists in a negotiation as being something that is an adaptation and challenging it as being something that is like has a function. Because one of the ways that shame continues to be able to work within us is when we believe that it's keeping us from the like it's like the governor on our inherent badness, like when we are not, when that's just absolutely not true. And that it's, and like the way that shame can actually like take up residence and be a passenger within us is if we believe that there's something it does for us that keeps us safe or serves us. So it's like, oh, if I wasn't ashamed, if I didn't have like this kind of, these icky feelings, like I wouldn't be able to stop doing this, that, or I wouldn't hold back, or I'd be dangerous, or I'd be whatever. And I'm challenging that because I just don't, it's just, yeah, I'm challenging that. Because it's, yeah, I won't, I'm not going to, this is because I've given myself 10 minutes and I'm already running out of time. I took a couple notes here. One of the things about negotiation is it's not really about you. the negotiation, whenever you're negotiating with somebody, what their perspective, what they're seeing is they're looking at you to figure out what you can do for them in a way that matters for them, in a way that's meaningful for them, in a way that connects with things in a worldview that actually is like consistent with the one that they hold. So the thing about it being personal is like it's not personal. And so, with that being said, the advantage in knowing that is realizing the role for curiosity and taking an interest in what a person is actually trying to achieve, and then matching up what you have to offer in a way that is going to resonate with them enough. I mean, we all know what it's like to want something. Like as soon as the want catches you, it's like you don't even care. You kind of lose reasoning. If you're in a store and you want to buy something and it's like, like, and all of a sudden it kind of catch the vision of what this thing will do in your life, like what it'll look like to have this thing in your home or to be wearing it or to like, that this will create this night, to remember kind of thing. It like that literally overrides all sort of, well, is it too expensive? You're just like, yep, I'm going to make it work. And so that's when we're talking about negotiation, that's a quality that isn't personal. It's not like your, diptyque candle, like all of a sudden became more valuable or less valuable. It's kind of a fixed object. So what I'm talking about here is the importance, why I'm bringing this up, is the importance of reconciling these things for yourself before you enter a negotiation and becoming clear with yourself about your sense of value and about what we're going to talk about like wanting what you want. Because a lot of people do not, if possibly most people do not spend enough time considering what their desires and their wants are, even what their value is. And there's this notion of like market value, which is just, kind of like bullshit in a lot of ways, if you kind of consider the last example I used. And that the important thing is like coming into a negotiation where the person that you're negotiating with is not dictating your sense of self. They're not telling you what you're worth being paid for. You're entering a negotiation very clear in terms of your embodiment and your sense of what you're coming to the table with. They don't hold the power of being able to validate you. And this is where, in my experience of negotiating salaries, negotiating deals, is that people that enter in with this stuff unexamined, and then it's kind of like whatever I'm going to say is actually going to tell the person what they're worth. You have people that just become really destabilized in terms of being able to advocate for their own self-interest. So, what do I mean by this? It's like when someone believes what I think something is worth, what happens is they think I'm telling them what they are worth. But what I'm telling them is not what they're worth. I'm telling them what they're offering, how it aligns with what I think is valuable. And so this is one of the things about selling, in like sales, is being like really investing in curiosity about what matters to the other party, specifically not as like just a standalone tactic, but is it as a contextual ability to be able to understand sort of like how to, I don't know. That's actually just got a little too wordy, so I'm going to cut to the chase. So shame. So okay, self-worth. Here we are. So I'm at like the 9-minute mark, which I think is, problematic for me because I have a couple other things that I want to share here. But the key thing is I want to offer up some practices. So the first practice is really thinking about what you want. So this is about reducing or eliminating shame about wanting what you want. And I'm going to go over 10 minutes. Shoot. Okay. And the thing is here is wanting what you want, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to get it in this particular negotiation, but at least what you have is you're coming to the table requiring that you're at least on a path to get to it. So maybe if you're like, I want, a specific amount of money, so I'm gonna time check myself. I'm at 10 minutes, so this is all overage. You're going into a discussion, into a negotiation, just clear about what you want, but without the emotional load on it of being like, "I need to get this," or, "I shouldn't even want it, because it's probably too much." It's like, "No, this is the aspiration. Ultimately, do I need this now? Think about that. Think about, like, what it looks like to be able to create a stepwise function in order to achieve what you ultimately want." One thing I will say is that a huge thing, and this happens to me in all manner of negotiation, I am effective in negotiating with a handyman to a, Fortune 100 executive to a, employee that I care about, personally, is that you have to have the plan for what you want. And this is something that is so common that people don't come to the table with, which is, what does this look like? What does good look like for this in detail? Because even if the conflict arises and there's frustration in the discussion, um, ultimately, if you don't really know what you want, you're like, "No, you tell me. You tell me what you think I'm worth." And then that's gonna make, like, this is like, because if you don't see that I'm worth that, then this isn't a thing, kind of thing. It's like, "No, absolutely not." Like, and this is something that, yeah, I'm just gonna put a full period on that. You need to understand what you want, and all negotiation will be that has any type of, like, where you're pushing to get your maximum, because most negotiation lacks conflict if you just concede right away, let's face it. So if you're really pushing and you're really allowing yourself to want what you want and be clear about what you want. I've had people, like, get really upset. They start, like, really, like, I deal with people getting upset a lot. Um, and it's not uncommon. They'll be like, "Well, what do you want? What is it that you want?" And we'll say, "Well, here, this is it." And they'll outline it. And there's times where they'll be like, "Okay." I had a t I had, I mean, this is more than, this time slot avails, like, some of these tactics. I mean, this is like a lifetime of work kind of thing, but here's the thing, is, like, when you're going into negotiation, if you're providing a service, have a really clear path of what it is like for the person to receive that service. Like, what do you want? It's like, "Here, we have these steps, and this is what's, this is what's required of it. This is your investment in terms of the time that you put into it, and this is the cost as far as what, the price." So the other thing I think about negotiation, this is once again more complex than it needs to be, but I'm gonna just sort of drop it as, like, to seed this notion, is that folks tend to get really fixated on negotiating for the thing that matters to them. So if you're selling a service and you want a sale, it's like the money, the money, the money, but it's like, back to what matters to them is what they're getting for spending the money. So what they're getting for spending the money is the thing that has that sort of, example used earlier, which is like, you just kind of, like, lose the kind of bean counting when you're like, "Oh, I can see the vision for this, how this benefits me, or how this provides a positive outcome for me." So, okay. So one of the things is really outlining that and drawing a vision for it. Like, what do you want? Like, in terms of, like, what is this situation for you? And what does this arrangement, what does this engagement look like when it's optimized for you? It's not just the money, it's how it's laid out, how you work together, what the expectations are for them, for what they need to do. Which can seem counter. Also, I'll note is that most times people feel like to negotiate is to just keep needing less, is like a way, that's just concession, and that's shame. So that's all I have time for, or we have time for. Imagine We're at like 15 minutes. Um, so be clear about it. The other thing is realize like there's a fake it till you make it aspect with this, which is realizing that your nervous system is very likely going to start acting up. It's really going to get likely going to get activated. And especially in the first times that we do this, there's going to be nerves. It's going to feel dangerous. There's going to be a feeling of like danger because it's like you're pushing against these belief systems of how much you're worth or like whether it's right for you to want these things. And this has deep roots, deep roots. That's what this whole process is about, is really like getting to the root. But we don't need to go that far. You can do like, you can actually like approach this as mentioned earlier and just like see that it's actually like an adaptation. It's not like a real thing, this shame and low self-worth. So, okay, a tool here is before you enter into a conflict or a negotiation, make a list of at least 3 things that will not change regardless of what happens in the conversation. Because one of the things that happens, we get like very insular. It's like, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen. And what we're doing is we're actually grounding ourselves by looking at like, okay, the things that really matter are not going to be changed by this. And this can be hard to really access. But what we're getting, and this goes back to like being able to have some aspect of like grounded, a tool for nervous system regulation in the moment, which also, can involve like just sort of taking a breath, controlling time a bit more. But go in and think and really remember and contextualize that it's like, if I lose this deal, if I don't get this job, if I can't talk this person out of taking, $1,000 off the ticket price for this, that these are people that still love me. These people, the people that matter to me, they still love me. I still have my gifts. My gifts are not taken away from me. The sun, like whatever brings that comfort of continuity and the fact that the larger picture holds, regardless of an outcome that is, look, it may be like, yes, it may be incredibly important. But the thing is to like latch onto the importance of that, to clasp onto, is to make it less stable and to actually minimize the chances of it happening. So we're introducing a complementary opposite, which is like losing the desperation in the moment, because it's realizing it's like, okay, no matter what happens in this situation, here are the things that still hold true. Maybe it's a relationship with God. Maybe it's a relationship with your culture. Maybe it is a hobby. Like I can still garden. I can still, I can still love my dog will still greet me at the door. My kids, like whatever is the thing, which is like, look, this is what I'm doing it for in the beginning, to begin with. And write it down. I used to do this when I was like very disrupted and very afraid, as I'd bring myself back. Like these things hold, and they're the ones that actually matter. Another thing too, I would say, as far as like preparation for this, is moving. So in whatever capacity you can, this doesn't mean like exercising necessarily. Maybe that's something that feels good for you, go for it. It's like whatever helps you kind of bring movement into your body. Breathing. I mean, it's just, like, I know it sounds like ridiculous, but it's like it's like taking a deep breath. And even in a negotiation, when it's heating up, to take breaks. It's like one of the things is like to slow the roll down a little bit. Maybe, like if it's starting to move, one of the analogies I use is like when you're playing ping pong and it's like starts speeding up so fast. It's like ting 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 ting. You're just like flailing around. And what you want to do is like in that case is you want to catch the ball and kind of like reserve it. If things get too heated, you just say, hey, let's take a step back for a minute. Let's remember like why we're doing this. Like just make sure we're on the same page here. Let's keep this really constructive because I really believe that ultimately there's a shared outcome that works well for both of us. Or, if somebody's, I really believe in this for you. I really believe in this product for you. I really, I see it. And so but fake it till you make it. So if you're watching this, it's like to sit down with me and just have a conversation about this. This is not really well organized. Hopefully there's something in here that's useful. And I think I'm just going to wrap this up here. If you have any questions, if there's anything where you're like, I don't know, or can you elaborate on this, just drop it right in the comments and I'll do it. I'll get into it. So sending you lots of love and encouragement. You can do this. It is so possible. And the thing is, wanting money is, if there's anything in terms of like what my work with people who work for me has done, is just being like, the thing is like, just want money. It's great. It's great to have it. It's freedom. You don't have to spend it on a Lamborghini or some stupid stuff. It's like you can have it to just be more free, to feel less trapped, to feel more, to be able to be more generous. Like all the qualities and aspirations you have, that this is part of how you get more access to being able to do it. It's just like energy stored. It's like, is it kinetic or potential energy that you get to hold on to. So it's like, there's, a lot of people have a lot of like reluctance. And, I've done a lot of chaotic stuff where I've made negotiations where I like really overshoot. And I'll say that if I overshoot and they're like, whoa, we are so far out of the ballpark. And so I just say, you know what? This isn't about money. This isn't just about money for me. And I think I can absolutely make a concession because this is important to me. Like, I want to do this. I care about this. I see the vision. We share it. I'm into it. Let's talk about how we can make this work. If my quote is like totally out of range, like, let's find a way that just make this happen. So look, there's all sorts of ways to do it. So all right. Sending you lots of love and encouragement. I just believe in you. I know that you're capable. Even without having had a conversation, you ask this question, you are ready. Okay. Bye for now.